Peter Dunne returned to Parliament this week after taking some time off following his resignation as a minister. He quit 2 weeks ago after the release of a report into the leaking of a GCSB report. The news only got worse this week when the Electoral Commission refused to re-register the United Future Party because it couldn't produce signed membership forms. So, what is the future for his party? The MP for Oharu joins me now. Good morning, Mr Dunne. Thank you for joining us this morning. So is that what you are now, essentially, an independent MP in your electorate?
No, I'm still the United Future MP for Oharu. I'm the leader of the United Future Party, and in fact, the ironic consequence of recent events has been that our membership has rocketed. We now have, and the Electoral Commission, funnily enough, acknowledges this, a very substantial membership. The sticking point that we have with them is simply the form of verification of that membership.
OK, so what is the future then, as we sit here today, for your party?
I think the future is a very positive one. What's come through loud and clear to me over the last couple of weeks is that the moderate, liberal, democratic role that we play in New Zealand politics is one that a lot of New Zealanders appreciate and want to see retained. So I've had huge encouragement from people from right around the country to carry on. We've had, as I say, a huge surge in our membership. And I think once we can settle all of this down and move forward, our future is a very positive one, and the contribution we can make to government in New Zealand in the future is also a positive one.
OK, so what do you need to do to settle it down? What does the Commission want you to do?
Well, this is a very pedantic point. We have provided the Commission with electronic verification for a substantial number of members, well over 1,000. The Commission is insisting on seeing signed documents in respect of each of those people. In other words, a signed membership application form. That is time-consuming. We are currently, although we think it's a really silly process to be going through, currently collecting all of that data. I'm hopeful that within the next week we should be able to front up with their pedantic requirement being met.
You say it's pedantic, but it's also, it's necessary, isn't it, to see those signed membership forms. Spreadsheets, for example, are too open to manipulation.
What we have produced for the Commission, and the Commission acknowledges, funnily enough, is accurate and correct, is a form in respect of each individual member that shows name, address, electorate, contact points, etc., when they paid, how they paid, and the receipting process for that payment. And the Electoral Commission says, yes, but we still want a signature. We accept that this is accurate and verifiable, but we still need a signature. And I say, come on, this is the 21st century. Most people are used to doing online transactions. That's all we've simply done, and they are the ones sticking in the mud.
You didn't say that, though, when you were the Minister of Revenue. I mean, what the Electoral Commission requires is exactly what's required by your former ministry. They need to see signatures. No, you can file electronically, but you can't. You still must follow it up with a signed form.
And in fact, the tax legislation that I put through in the last year or so changed that and make it much easier for people to do their tax business online, just as it is for your banking and everything else.
You still have to sign, though, and Land Revenue still has to see that signature, though, just like the Electoral Commission is requesting from you now.
The point is, though, let's go back one. The Electoral Commission has made two decisions which are completely at odds with each other. On the one hand, it says, and they said to us very clearly when we met them last week, we accept that United Future is not a new political party. You've been around since 1995. We accept that. You are clearly an established political party. But because your registration was cancelled at our request, not theirs, at our request, because your registration was cancelled, we have to treat you as a new party for re-registration purposes. Those two positions are absurd. Had they said, because you're an existing party, we will treat you as such for re-registration, all we would have been required to do is file a statutory declaration saying we had more than 500 members.
Nonetheless, you didn't meet that party membership. That's why this needs to be policed, surely.
Well, here's the irony. When the position emerged late April and it became clear that we weren't going to be able to verify that we had more than 500 financial members, even though we had more than that number on our database, we approached the Commission, not them approaching us. Had we signed the declaration falsely to say we had the number of members, the Commission never actually checks, and none of this situation would have arisen. So ironically, again, we're being punished for our honesty.
Do you think there are other parties who don't make that 500 member threshold?
I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are. And one of the
problems,
I'm not going to name them, but I'm sure a number of parties would struggle, particularly in non-election years, to meet that deadline. And the Electoral Commission simply requires a statutory declaration to that effect. and it acknowledges it does not have the resources to actually check whether those declarations are correct. So we're in the unusual position, in fact the unique position, of saying we can't file a declaration at this time because we want some more time to verify. When we now come back with a verified membership, they say, sorry, the process starts from scratch from you as though you're a new party straight off the street.
And that's how it is, though. That is the law, isn't it?
Well, it's not the law, actually. The Electoral Commission has the power to make its own rules. The Electoral Commission also has the power to vary its rules. It has chosen not to do so.
Okay, fair point. Have you considered joining the National Party at any stage, Mr Dunne?
Never.
You wouldn't
Never.
consider it now?
No, and the reason is because I have considerable philosophical and other differences with the National Party on a range of issues. And look, just as I left the Labour Party, when I left the Labour Party in 1994, someone said to me, why don't you join the National Party? And I said, well, I'm not jumping out of one frying pan into another fire.
OK, will you stand in your electorate in the next election then?
I've made no decision either way on that at the moment, Rachel.
Why not? It's pretty much around the corner.
No, it's 18 months away. I normally decide my future position around about the end of this year, beginning of early next year in an election year process. Nothing unusual in that.
What factors will influence that decision, Mr Dunne? What will you consider?
I want to see what the political landscape looks like. I want to see what the messages of support or otherwise from my electorate look like. I also want to see what the state of the party looks like. I've got a lot of work to do in the next 6 months to get to that point, and I'm really looking forward to the challenge of rebuilding United Future and actually seeing us play a competent role in government again. How
do you think John Key handled the situation that you've been through?
I've got no criticism of the Prime Minister. In fact, I think he's been very supportive, and I made it clear to him, and I made clear publicly at the time that I made my resignation, that I had no wish to embarrass the Prime Minister in any way. I think he's done a good job for New Zealand, and I expect to see him continue.
Do you believe you could have carried on as a minister?
Look, it's possible, but I made the call in the end that the range of circumstances where I felt that I had let myself down didn't justify that happening.
So should you have carried on or not? You don't think you should have?
Well, it was my decision in the end. It wasn't the Prime Minister's. I offered him my resignation saying I don't think my position is tenable in these circumstances, and he reluctantly accepted it. Could I have toughed it out? I don't know. I didn't really think that was appropriate.
How much has some of the, fairly extreme commentary around your circumstances affected you?
Look, I don't want to go into the details, but obviously the last 2 weeks have been pretty tough on me, very tough on my wife, very tough on my family, and also my wider circle of friends and associates. I think that this has been a most extreme form of muck raking, and I think it's been hard on all concerned, and I just hope we can move forward from here and put those things behind us.
Are you regretful of your situation, or do you feel something of a victim in this?
In terms of the particular situation, I'm a bit of a victim. I'm a bit also of a victim of my own activities and actions. And do I feel regretful? In some senses, yes. But look, I fronted up. I took the call that it was not appropriate for me to carry on. And I'm now looking forward to the new horizons that lie ahead. Who's been the most supportive to you throughout this? My wife, Jennifer, has been superbly supportive. I mean, she's had a very difficult time. And I've just really appreciated her support, her encouragement, and just her loyalty over this period of time. And if anything, it's brought us much closer together, and I really value that. So how do you see the next month or so panning out for you, Mr Dunne? Well, immediate job tomorrow is to go and hang some pictures in my new office and then get back to work. I've got a big adjustment to make from not being a minister. I've been in that role now for a long period of time, and this will be a real opportunity for me to focus on some things that are important. Important policy issues for United Future in terms of protecting freedoms and rights and access for New Zealanders to opportunity and to enjoy all their country has to offer, working in my electorate and just recapturing a bit of my own life too. Do you have unfinished business, do you think, for example, as Revenue Minister? There were things that I wanted to see through, and I'm confident that the new minister will see them through. The major reorganisation of the department's technology. I think there's an ongoing case for progressive tax reform in New Zealand. But I've made it very clear to him that if he wants my advice, he's welcome to ask for it. But I'm not going to be sitting on his shoulder telling him, here's what I'd do if I were you. It's his show now, not mine. I've moved on. Do you have any indication, or have you had any indication, that you could return to a minister's position in time? Oh, that issue hasn't arisen, and frankly, it's not something that's on my radar screen at the moment. As I say, I've got a full set of priorities ahead of me. I'm looking forward to a different pace of life also, but also just getting on with things that I can focus on that are important to me, to my party and to my electorate.
We'll shortly be talking about Jamie Lee Ross's Employment Amendment Bill. That's something that you have suggested you won't support. Are there other bills from the right that you would perhaps not look to support as well?
It depends what's coming forward. I don't know the full agenda. This is a private member's bill. He did discuss it with me several weeks ago, long before the current controversies blew up, and I indicated to him then that I thought it was a step too far, and I indicated also to the Prime Minister at that time that I wouldn't be supporting it should it proceed. There will be others that will come along, but we'll take each one on a case-by-case basis. I will be looking closely, given recent circumstances, at the GCSB legislation, for instance, in terms of whether it actually achieves what it sets out to do or whether it goes too far. And there'll be other measures that will come up that I'll apply the same rule to. But it will be business as usual. It'll be done on a no surprises basis, and we'll be honouring our confidence in supply agreement.
Is it your gut feeling that the GCSB has too much power, Mr Dunne?
I think there's a conflict that needs to be resolved between the role of our domestic surveillance agency, the SIS, and our external agency, the GCSB, and where they coincide. And I must say I'm increasingly uncomfortable with the notion that because the GCSB might have better technology, for example, it can do work on behalf of the domestic agency. I accept there are cases where that may be appropriate, but I think that needs to be a much clearer delineation and a much clearer statement about where one's role ends and the other begins. Otherwise, I think the situation could remain as blurred as it was in the .com case.
Do you think it spied on you?
I don't know. And I suspect for a lot of New Zealanders, the question that they will ask themselves in this whole debate is just how certain they can be of their freedom, how certain they can be that they aren't inadvertently caught up in something much wider. And I think that while these things always operate in the shadows to some extent, the challenge is to give the greatest level of confidence you can to people that their circumstances are being protected and their rights and freedoms are not being abused.
So essentially what you're saying is that the government can't rely 100% on your support for this legislation.
The bill is about to go to the Intelligence and Security Committee for the hearing of public submissions. I imagine it will be amended by the committee once that process is completed. I will then have a look at the bill in that form to determine whether it's something I can support.
All right, Peter Dunne, Leader for United Future, thank you for your time this morning.